The sage Vasishta is in an extraordinary situation where he can survey the whole universe, and not just this universe but other universes, perhaps what we might call parallel universes or alternate universes. And I suppose if he were a scientist, he would be studying these universes in great detail. But he's Vasishta, and he's not getting taken in. He realizes that all of these universes are arising in consciousness and are the nature of consciousness. Perhaps we might regard this as a vivid daydream that he's experiencing. But the same mechanism exists whether it's our dream, whether it's hypnotic conditions, daydreams, or what we like to think of as physical reality. It's the same mechanism which gives us our experiences. At different times we'll consider these experiences real, and at other times we'll consider them unreal. So when we wake up from a dream, we immediately put the dream aside as something unreal, no matter how vivid it was at the time, no matter how emotionally we were involved in it. This is the same when we're watching a good film or reading a good book. We get involved in the story. It becomes our reality for that period, and then we come out of it and we put it aside. Depending on how powerful it was, we'll give it greater or lesser thought, usually lesser thought. We somehow though give our ordinary waking state a greater reality status, and there's actually no reason for doing so, because it's a state of hypnosis, it's a dream state. And Vasishta's woken up to this fact, and it's expressed in terms of consciousness, being conscious. In a recent video, I asked you to consider yourself as a dream object, or to not just consider yourself, but realize your nature as a dream object. To consider yourself an object in somebody else's dream, a person in somebody else's dream. It doesn't matter whose dream it is. Perhaps it's my dream, perhaps it's your own dream. Perhaps it's your dream from a previous life, it doesn't really matter. The essential point is to experience yourself as a dream person, as a dream entity, because that's actually the reality. And can you experience physical objects as dream objects? Can you relate to them as dream objects? Vasistha continued. Brahman is one, and all these are appearances which the light of Brahman makes manifest without intending to do so. Brahman is consciousness. On account of this there arises great diversity of experience. For instance, in some universes moonlight is hot and sunlight cool. There is sight in darkness and blindness in daylight. Good is destructive and evil constructive. Poison promotes health and nectar kills, in accordance with the notions that arise in consciousness. In some universes there are no women, and therefore no sexuality, and in others people have pitiless hearts. So women here are equated with sexuality. In some universes people do not possess one or more of the senses. In some only one or two of the elements exist, though they too are inhabited by living creatures adapted to suit local conditions. All these arise as consciousness, in consciousness through consciousness, and this is known as the mind. So Vasishta's being presented with this huge variety of experiences, but he's not losing his centre, he's not losing his awareness of his essential identity as consciousness. Brahma asked, since everything attains liberation at the end of a world cycle, during the cosmic dissolution, how does the notion of the next creation arise? So Rama's still asking questions in terms of traditional understanding of cosmology. Given that everything is supposed to come to an end, how come there's even a seed of something which can give rise to the next world creation? Vasishta replied, "O Ram, Brahman is an indescribable mass of cosmic consciousness. The creation is its very heart and therefore non-different." I've mentioned this point before, and it seems to exist in the traditional cosmologies. The assumption that at one point there was nothing and something came along and filled it up. There's absolutely no basis for this assumption. It's the assumption of modern physics. Modern physics has taken the assumption of the ancient cosmologies that at one point there was nothing, and then God or the Great Spirit or something decided to create the universe. This seems to me to be quite a peculiar inversion of what is obvious, and what is obvious is that something is the natural state of affairs. There's no need to explain something, you need to explain nothing, because this nothing is completely hypothetical. Why should there be nothing? It is apprehended as creation mysteriously, not really. It's not really creation. We think of it as something out there, and it's mysterious, but there's nothing there. It's just this something going on all the time, which we can't really call creation. Since its creation is false, how can one say that it perishes at some time? Even cosmic dissolution, etc., are the limbs of Brahman, as it were. So there's always something going on, and that something is consciousness. Such divisions appear only in ignorance. Therefore nothing perishes at any time, nor does anything come into being. The supreme truth or consciousness is indestructible by weapons, fire, wind and water. That's the elements which fuel the cosmic dissolution. It is not realized by those who do not know it. You've got to know it before you can realize it. You've got to realize it before you can realize it. You've got to realize it before you can know it. The universe, which is the heart of this truth, is also like it. It is neither born nor does it die. The universe is consciousness. Experience of its existence and non-existence arises with the rising and cessation of the appropriate notion. It's all notional. Hence, even words like world cycle, cosmic dissolution, etc., are sound without substance. The ghost exists or disappears only in the heart of one who thinks it. What are seen as birth, death, pain, pleasure, form and formlessness are all limbs of the one being. There is no division among them, even as there is no division in the several parts of the one tree. We split things up. We give names to things in order to communicate. But all that splitting up and naming of things is provisional. It's a convenient way to tell stories, but we shouldn't confuse our storytelling with truth. Even scientific stories. Science gives us technology, and so we take this as evidence of some existential truth. But we shouldn't. Science gives us very particular and very powerful stories. But what they do is they give us technology, and we shouldn't confuse this with truth. There is no division among them, even as there is no division in the several parts of the one tree. When this truth is not realized, then the apparent divisions seem to arise. In Brahman there is neither knowledge nor ignorance. It is beyond bondage and liberation. Realizing this is liberation.